That night, my son shouted at me, "Get out, Mom! My girlfriend doesn't want you here." He screamed it in front of 200 guests, and I understood. Some words can never be forgotten and never forgiven. My name is Emily. I'm 57 years old, and this is the story of how a wedding destroyed a family, but also saved my life. It was the day we had all been waiting for. We had planned everything for months. The ranch garden was full of white flowers. The string quartet had been playing since sunset. The tables were set with linen cloths I had embroidered myself during sleepless nights. Everything was perfect. My son Daniel was marrying Sarah, that girl with the clear eyes and cold smile who showed up 2 years ago and changed everything. I was wearing the royal blue dress my mother wore at her own wedding. I had my hair up in an elegant bun. I wanted to look good, dignified, as the mother of the groom should. When I arrived at the reception hall, Sarah saw me. She said nothing. She just whispered something in Daniel's ear. He walked toward me, his steps fast, his jaw tight. I knew that look. It was the same look he had as a child when he knew he had done something wrong, but didn't want to admit it. "Mom," he started lowering his voice, "Sarah says that your dress is overshadowing her, that the blue is too flashy." I felt a punch in my chest, but I took a deep breath. "It's okay, son. I can change if you want. I brought another dress in the car." "No, Mom." His voice turned hard. "It's better if you just leave." "What?" "Sarah is very nervous. She says your presence makes her tense, that you've always judged her." The hall was full. The music was playing. The guests were chatting, unaware of what was happening 3 meters from the main table. "Daniel, I am your mother. I organized this wedding. I paid for half of all this. And that's why you think you have the right to ruin my wife's day," he shouted. The hall went silent. All eyes fell on us. And then he said it, loud, clear, in front of everyone. "Get out, Mom. My girlfriend doesn't want you here." I felt something break inside me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just nodded, took my purse, and walked to the exit. Nobody stopped me. Nobody followed me. I got in my car and drove back to the ranch. The keys hung around my neck, as always. The keys my father left me before he died, along with the land, the house, the legacy of 4 generations. The same keys Daniel had wanted ever since he got engaged to Sarah. I got home. I took off the blue dress, folded it carefully, and put it away in the closet. I didn't sleep that night, but the next day when the phone rang and I saw his name on the screen, I knew everything was about to change. I took a deep breath, and I answered. Sometimes we trust the wrong people too much. Have you ever been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. "Mom." His voice sounded tired on the phone. "Can you come to the ranch? We need to talk." I hung up without answering. I sat in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, the same strong coffee I used to make for Daniel when he was a boy, and woke up early to help me with the horses. Because that's how it was before. Before Sarah, my son and I were a team. After his father died 15 years ago, it was just the 2 of us and the ranch. We learned to survive together. Daniel was 12 when I was widowed. He was a quiet boy with big hands and sad eyes who tried to be strong for me. "Mom, I can fix the fence," he would tell me, carrying tools heavier than he was. "No, my love, you're still just a child." "Not anymore, Mom. I'm the man of the house now." And he tried. God knows he tried. We grew up together on this land. He learned to herd cattle, to repair tractors, to negotiate with suppliers when I didn't have the strength. He would hug me when I cried at night. When I missed his father so much, I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Everything will be okay, Mom. I promise." And he kept his promise. He became a man here between these adobe walls, under these mesquite trees my grandfather planted. When he finished college in the city, he came back. "Mom, my place is here with you at the ranch." Was I so happy to hear that? We worked side by side. I handled the accounts, he took care of the cattle. In the evenings we sat on the porch watching the sunset with coffee and sweet bread. "You know, Mom, someday my kids will grow up here just like I did. They'll run through these same yards. They'll learn to ride the same horses. I hope so, my love. I hope you find a woman who loves this land as much as we do." He smiled. "I'll find her. I promise." But it didn't happen that way. He met Sarah in a city bar during a business meeting. She was a business administrator, successful, modern. She wore high heels and expensive perfumes. She talked about investments and returns. The first time he brought her to the ranch, I saw the disappointment on her face. "This is where you live?" she asked, looking at the old walls, the dark wood furniture, the black and white photos of my grandparents. "This is where we live," Daniel corrected her. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Sarah smiled, but her eyes said something else. From that day on, everything changed. Daniel started coming home late. He stopped sitting with me on the porch. He talked about selling cattle, about modernizing, about turning the ranch into an event hall. "Mom, Sarah has good ideas. We could make a lot of money." "This isn't a company, Daniel. It's our home." "It's both, Mom. We have to be realistic." That word, realistic. He had never used it before. The keys to the ranch hung from my neck, the same ones my father gave me before he died with tears in his eyes. "Emily, this land is your inheritance. Don't let anyone take it from you. Not even your son." At the time, I didn't understand why he said it. Now I did. The phone rang again. It was Daniel again. This time I answered. As I tell this, I wonder where you might be listening. Write the name of your city in the comments. "Mom, please. I need the keys to the ranch." His voice was different, colder, like he was reading a script someone else had written for him. "What do you need them for, Daniel?" Silence on the other end of the line. I heard voices in the background. A woman's voice. Sarah. "Sarah and I want to make some changes. Modernize a bit. Maybe remodel the main room. Change the old furniture." That old furniture was made by your great-grandfather with his own hands. "Mom, please don't start. Yesterday was enough drama." "Drama?" I felt my voice break. "You kicked me out of your wedding, and I was the one causing drama. You decided to wear that dress knowing that— Daniel, it was your grandmother's dress. The same one she wore when she married your grandfather in this very ranch you now want to remodel." Another silence. Longer. Heavier. "Mom, things change. Traditions change. Sarah is right. We can't live in the past. Sarah is right." Those 3 words that had begun to define my son since he met her. "When are you coming home?" I asked, trying to change the subject. "That's the point, Mom. Sarah and I aren't going to live there anymore. We're staying in the apartment in the city. It's more practical for her work." I felt as if the air had been knocked out of my lungs. "But you said you would raise your children here, that this was your home." "And it is. But I also need to build my own life. With my wife." "My wife." He no longer said her name with affection. He said it like someone signing a contract. "Then why do you need the keys?" "Because legally it's my house too, Mom. My father left it 50% to you, 50% to me." There it was, the truth, the fracture. His father had indeed left him half of the property, but the keys, the control, the administration, he left that to me, with a specific clause. Emily will decide the future of the ranch as long as she is alive and of sound mind. Daniel will receive his share only when she determines it. My husband knew me. He knew I would never sell. He knew I would protect this land even from our own son if necessary. "The keys stay with me, Daniel. Mom, don't be childish. We just want to make some arrangements. Maybe rent the ranch for events, wedding sweet 16s. We could generate extra income. Turn our home into a business. It's an opportunity. Sarah already spoke with an architect. We could expand the garden, build a new terrace, put in a hall with air conditioning." "No. No. No, Daniel. This house is not for sale. It's not available. It's not a project. But it's mine too." That scream, that tone. It was the voice of a stranger. "Your father left you this land to protect it, not to exploit it." "My father is dead, Mom. He's been dead for 15 years. "And you're still living as if he's coming back tomorrow." I fell silent. His words cut through me like knives. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean, yes, you did. My voice came out calm, too calm. And that's fine. You're right. Your father is dead. And I have lived all these years taking care of what he loved, what he built, what he dreamed for you. Mom, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's time for each of us to live our own life. What do you mean? I mean the keys stay with me. The ranch remains my responsibility. And you two can build the life you want, somewhere else. Are you kicking us out? No. I'm giving you what you asked for. Your space, your independence, your own life. I heard Sarah talking in the background, urgent, annoyed. Daniel answered her in a low voice. Mom, Sarah says you're being selfish, that you're clinging to material things, that... Daniel, I interrupted him. Yesterday when you yelled at me in front of all those guests, when you asked me to leave your wedding, there was a lady sitting near me. I didn't know her. But before I left the hall, she took my hand and told me something. Do you know what she said? She said, Ma'am, when a son chooses between his mother and his wife, he has already made his choice. And you must respect that choice, but you must also respect yourself. Mom, this isn't a competition between you and Sarah. No, my love, it's not. Because in a competition, both sides want to win, and I don't want to compete anymore. I just want peace. And the keys. I touched the necklace where they hung. Cold, heavy, full of history. The keys stay where they have always been, with me. Until the right time comes to hand them over. And when will that be? When you have a heart that deserves them. I hung up before he could answer. I sat in the kitchen for hours. The coffee grew cold in the cup. The afternoon shadows began to fill the house. I walked through the empty hallways. I touched the adobe walls. I looked at the old photographs. My father in his Sunday best. My mother with her silk shawl. Daniel as a child riding his first horse. In my husband's study on the wooden desk was the last letter he wrote to me before he died. I had read it so many times I knew it by heart. Emily, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer with you. Forgive me for leaving you alone with so much responsibility. Take care of the land. Take care of our son. But above all, take care of yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel less than what you are. The strongest woman I have ever known. I love you. Always. That night, for the first time in 15 years, I didn't cry for my dead husband. I cried for my living son. Because some pain is worse than death. Like watching someone you love turn into someone you don't recognize. The keys hung from my neck, and I knew that I would soon have to use them in a way I never imagined. Have you ever had to choose between love and self-respect? Tell me what you decided. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that teach us the most. 3 days passed without Daniel calling me. 3 days where I woke up hoping to see his truck coming up the dirt road. 3 days where I made extra coffee just in case he arrived. 3 days where I caught myself looking at the phone every half hour. On the 4th day, I decided that pride was not worth more than my son. I called him. Mom. Daniel. My voice trembled. Can we talk? Silence. I heard him say something to someone else. To her. Sure, Mom. What's up? Not over the phone. Come home. I'm inviting you both to dinner, you and Sarah. I want us to start over. More silence. Background voices. A whispered argument. Sarah says, Sarah. She's not sure if it's a good idea. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Please, son. Let me do this right. Let me get to know her better. Maybe I haven't been fair to her. The words burned my mouth because I didn't feel them, but I needed to say them. Really, Mom? Really, come tomorrow. I'll make your favorite stew and rice pudding for dessert. I heard his voice soften. My boy was still in there somewhere under all those new layers. Okay, we'll be there tomorrow, around 7. Perfect. I'll be waiting. I hung up and stared at the kitchen, the old iron stove where my mother taught me to cook, the clay pots I inherited from my grandmother, the hand-painted tiles we brought back from Santa Fe when we got married. Was I really willing to give in, to negotiate my peace for his presence? Yes, I was, because that's what mothers do. We bend, we break, but we don't let go. I spent all the next day preparing dinner. I ground the spices with my own hands. I slow-cooked the chicken. I set the dining room table with the embroidered cloth, the beeswax candles, the Talavera dishes we only used on special occasions. I put on a simple dress, beige discreet, nothing that could steal the spotlight from anyone. I tied my hair back. I put on the pearl earrings my husband gave me for our 10th anniversary. The keys hung from my neck, hidden under the dress. At 7:15 they arrived. When I saw Daniel's truck park in front of the house, my heart sped up like I was a little girl waiting for her father. How pathetic, I thought. But I couldn't help it. I went out to greet them. Daniel got out first. He wore a white shirt, dark jeans, his hair combed with gel. He looked handsome. He looked different, like an actor playing the part of my son. Sarah got out next. A tight, wine-colored dress, high heels straight and perfect hair, flawless makeup. She carried a designer bag on one arm and her phone in her hand. "Good evening, Emily," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sarah, I'm so glad you both came. Please come in." Daniel gave me a kiss on the cheek. It was quick, forced. "Smells good, Mom. It's your favorite, chicken stew." They entered the house. Sarah looked around with that expression I already knew. Evaluation, as if she were calculating how much every piece of furniture, every painting, every piece of history was worth. "How quaint," she finally said. "The house is 120 years old," I explained, closing the door. "My great-grandfather built it when he bought this land." "Wow, it definitely has the character." They sat in the living room while I finished serving. From the kitchen, I heard them talking in low voices, nervous laughter, uncomfortable silences. When I returned with a pitcher of sweet tea, Sarah was taking pictures of the living room with her phone. "Do you like the decor?" I asked, trying to sound friendly. "Oh, yes, yes. It's very authentic." "I was just taking some pictures to send to my cousin. She loves the vintage style." Vintage? As if my life were a Pinterest trend. "Dinner is ready. Come to the dining room." We sat at the long wooden table, Daniel in his usual spot to my right, Sarah across from him. I served the plates carefully, making sure everything looked perfect. "Enjoy," I said, sitting down. Daniel tried the stew. He closed his eyes. "God, Mom, nobody makes stew like you." I smiled. For the first time in days, something felt normal. "I'm glad you like it, my love." Sarah took a small bite. She chewed slowly. She put her fork down on the plate. "It's good, though I can't eat much spice. It upsets my stomach." "It's not that spicy," I said. "But I can get you something else if—" No, it's fine. I'll eat what I can." Silence. The wall clock ticked off each second, a sound I had never noticed so clearly before. "Well," I said finally, "I wanted you to come because I want to apologize." Daniel looked up, Sarah too. "I was unfair to both of you, with your wedding, with everything." The words came out mechanically rehearsed. "This is your life, your marriage, and I must learn to respect that." Sarah smiled, for the first time a genuine smile. "Thank you, Emily. That means a lot to me. To us." Daniel took my hand. "Mom, I went too far too. I shouldn't have yelled at you, especially not in front of everyone." "It's in the past, son. The important thing is to move forward." "Exactly," Sarah chimed in. "Move forward. New beginnings." We toasted with sweet tea, like a normal family, as if nothing had happened. After dinner, while I was serving the rice pudding, Sarah stood up. "Will you excuse me? I need to use the restroom." "Of course. It's the second door on the left." She left. Daniel and I were alone. "Mom, thank you for doing this. I know it wasn't easy." "Nothing is easy when it comes to you, my love. But it's always worth it." He smiled. "My boy. Still there." "Sarah is a good woman, Mom. You just need to get to know each other better." "I know, and I'm going to try, really." We talked for a while longer. He told me about their honeymoon in the Caribbean, about the plans for the apartment, about a new job Sarah got at a multinational company. Everything sounded perfect. Too perfect. Sarah was taking a long time. "Is your wife okay?" I asked. "She must be touching up her makeup. You know how women are." I stood up. "I'll go check if she needs anything." I walked down the hall. The bathroom door was open. Empty. Sarah. Silence. I kept walking. I passed by my husband's study. The door was ajar. I pushed it open. Sarah was inside her back to me, holding her phone up. She was taking pictures of the desk, of the drawers, of the documents that were on the table. "Sarah!" She spun around, startled. Her face went pale for a second, but she quickly regained her composure. "Oh, Emily, you scared me," she laughed nervously. "I'm sorry, I just saw this room and it seemed so interesting. All these old things." "Is this your husband's study?" It was. "Right, sorry." She put the phone in her bag. "He has very nice things. I just love vintage." There was that word again. "This room is usually locked." The door was open. I thought I could come in. It's fine. Don't worry. Let's go back to Daniel." We returned to the dining room. Sarah sat down as if nothing had happened, smiling, relaxed. But I wasn't. We finished dessert with superficial conversation. Sarah praised the house 3 more times. Daniel talked about his plans to help me with the ranch's maintenance. Maybe we could hire someone to paint the exterior walls, Mom. They look a bit neglected. They're that color because it's whitewash. That's how it was done. But we could modernize it, give it a more contemporary look. Contemporary. Modern. Vintage. All words that meant the same thing. Your life is obsolete. At 10 they left. "Thanks for dinner, Mom. It was delicious." "Any time. This is your house." Sarah hugged me. A cold, calculated hug. "Thank you for giving us another chance, Emily. It means a lot." I watched them drive away down the dirt road. The truck's taillights disappeared among the trees. I closed the door. I walked straight to the study. On the desk, the documents my husband had left organized were now moved, slightly, almost imperceptibly, but I knew every inch of that space. Someone had gone through them. I opened the main drawer. The property deeds were there, the will, the land titles, everything in order, but something was missing. The yellow envelope. The envelope where my husband kept an important letter. A letter he made me promise I would only open if someone ever tried to take the ranch from me. I searched all the drawers, the shelves, behind the books. It was gone. A chill ran down my spine. I touched the keys hanging from my neck, and for the first time I understood that I wasn't being paranoid. I was being watched. I was being studied. I was being measured to see how much longer I was going to be an obstacle in someone else's plans. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the study with the lights off looking out the window, and I wondered how much time I had before they tried to take everything. As I tell this, I wonder where you might be listening. Write the name of your city in the comments. The next morning, I decided to search the whole house for the yellow envelope. I checked every closet, every box in the attic, every corner where my husband might have hidden it. Nothing. I was about to give up when the doorbell rang. It was Mr. Lawson, our family lawyer, a man of 70 with a white mustache and a flawless suit that always smelled of pipe tobacco and Old Spice. "Mrs. Emily, good morning. May I come in?" "Mr. Lawson? What a surprise. Of course, come in." We went into the living room. I served him coffee. He sat down with that seriousness lawyers have when the news isn't good. "Emily, I'm here because I received a very strange call yesterday." "Strange?" "From your daughter-in-law, Sarah." I felt my stomach churn. "Sarah called you?" "Yes. She told me that you had asked her to contact me, that you wanted to review your husband's will, that there were doubts about the property distribution." "I never asked her to do that." Mr. Lawson nodded slowly. "I imagined as much. That's why I came." "Emily, that young woman asked me some very specific questions. She wanted to know if Daniel's 50% was transferable, if he could sell his share without your consent, if there was any clause that gave you absolute power over the ranch." "And what did you tell her?" I told her that information is confidential, that I can only discuss it with you or with your son in your presence. She got quite upset. He took a sip of coffee. Emily, is something going on that I should know about? I told him everything. The wedding, the shouting, the dinner, the photos in the study, the missing envelope. Mr. Lawson listened in silence, his brow furrowed. This envelope you mention, was it the one containing your husband's letter? Yes. Do you know what it said? I know your husband asked me to draft a document years ago, shortly before he died, but he never told me what it contained. He only asked me to certify his signature and keep it in a sealed yellow envelope. Do you have a copy? No, your husband was very clear, only one original in your hands. He told me it was a protection, an insurance policy. Against what? Mr. Lawson looked at me with those tired eyes that have seen too many family tragedies. Against this, I suppose. Against the day someone tried to take what is yours. He left half an hour later, but not before warning me. Emily, be careful. I've seen cases like this. When there's money and property involved, people change, even family. Daniel isn't like that. Daniel maybe not, but Sarah... I didn't answer, because I had no answer. That afternoon, I received a text from Daniel. Mom, Sarah wants to invite you to lunch tomorrow, just the two of you, to get to know each other better. What do you say? Something in my gut told me not to go, but something stronger told me I needed to know what was happening. Of course. What time? 2:00 at the Hacienda restaurant. Ironic, wasn't it? I'll be there. The next day, I dressed carefully. Black pants, white blouse, a simple blazer. The keys under my blouse, as always. I arrived at the restaurant 5 minutes early. Sarah was already there, sitting at a table by the window, phone in hand, a glass of white wine in front of her. She looked relaxed, confident, like a chess player who already knows how the game will end. Emily, how punctual. Please sit down. I sat. I ordered mineral water. Thanks for coming, Sarah said, putting down her phone. I know things between us started badly, and I want to fix that. Me too. Good. Because look, Emily, I am not your enemy. I know you think I came to take your son, but that's not it. I came to love him, and that includes respecting his family. She sounded sincere, almost believable. I'm glad to hear that. And that's why I want to be honest with you. She leaned forward. Daniel is stressed, very stressed. He feels trapped between you and me, and that's not fair to him. I have never asked him to choose. I know, but he feels he has to, especially with the issue of the ranch. There it was, the real reason for the lunch. The issue of the ranch. Emily, we both know that property is huge, beautiful, full of potential, but it's also a burden. It costs money, time, and energy to maintain. Daniel tells me you do everything alone, that you don't accept help, that you're clinging to something that might be too much for you now. I took a deep breath, counted to 5. The ranch is my home, not a burden. Of course it's your home. No one is saying otherwise, but think about it. You, alone in that huge house, without Daniel, without anyone. Wouldn't it be easier to sell or rent or do something productive with it? Something productive like what? Like a boutique hotel or an event venue. I have contacts in the industry. We could do something incredible, modern, profitable. You would receive profits without having to worry about maintenance. And who would manage it? Sarah smiled. Well, I have experience in administration. We could form a partnership. You put up the property, we put in the work. Shared profits. And the keys? Sorry, the keys. Who would have them? Her smile faltered for a second. Well, obviously we would need full access to do the remodeling, to show the place to potential clients. So you would live there. Not necessarily live there, but we would need full use of the property. It's the only way the business would work. I took a slow sip of water, feeling every piece of the puzzle fall into place. And where would I live? Wherever you want. You could buy an apartment in the city, something more comfortable without stairs, without so much work. At your age, Emily, you should be enjoying life, not killing yourself in a 19th century house. At your age. Those 3 words that say, you're old, you're useless. It's time to get out of the way. Was this your idea, or Daniel's? It was both of ours. Daniel is worried about you. He's afraid something will happen to you there alone, that you'll fall down the stairs or get sick and no one will be around to help you. It's for your own good, Emily." How thoughtful. Sarah didn't detect the sarcasm in my voice, or she didn't care. "So, what do you say? Can we at least consider the idea, talk to an architect, look at the numbers?" "No." Her smile froze. "No. No, Sarah. The ranch is not for sale. It's not available for business. It's not open for partnerships. It is my home, and it will remain my home until the day I decide otherwise. But Daniel is also an owner. Daniel owns 50% of the property, but I have complete control over its use and administration. My husband stipulated that in his will. That's unfair." "No, it's protection." Sarah put her glass down harder than necessary. "Emily, I don't want to sound rude, but you are being selfish. That property could change your son's life, your family's life, and you are clinging to it as if it's more important than us. It's not more important. It's different. The ranch is a legacy. You two are temporary." She turned pale. "Temporary? Marriages can end, Sarah. Businesses can fail. Promises can be broken. But the land remains." I stood up. I left money on the table for my water. "Thank you for the invitation, but I believe we have nothing more to talk about." "Emily, wait. Give my regards to my son. Tell him when he wants to see me, he knows where to find me." I walked out of the restaurant. My heart was pounding, but my legs were steady. I got in my car. I sat there for a moment, breathing. I pulled the keys out from under my blouse. I held them in my hand. Cold, heavy, real. And in that moment, I knew the war had already begun. Only this time, I wasn't going to surrender. Has anyone ever made you feel like you were an obstacle in their path? How did you handle it? That night, as I was making chamomile tea in the kitchen, I heard a truck coming up the road. It was 11 o'clock at night. My heart raced. I thought of Daniel. Maybe he had come to talk to me, to apologize, to tell me Sarah was wrong. But when I opened the door, I saw it was Mr. Lawson's truck. He got out quickly, a manila envelope in his hand, and an expression I had never seen before. "Emily, forgive the hour, but you need to see this." "What is it, Mr. Lawson?" We went into the living room. He didn't sit down. He placed the envelope on the table carefully, as if it contained something dangerous. "After our talk yesterday, I kept thinking about that document your husband asked me to certify. I went to the archives in my office. I searched all the old files, and I found this." He opened the envelope. He pulled out a yellowish sheet with my husband's handwriting. "It's a copy. The only one I made without him knowing. I did it because your husband was very sick when he came to see me." And something in his tone made me think that document was important, that maybe you would need it one day. I took the sheet with trembling hands. It was a letter handwritten, dated 3 weeks before my husband died. I began to read. "Emily, my love, if you are reading this, it's because someone is trying to take the ranch from you. And if they are trying, it means I was right. 2 months ago, when I went to the hospital for my last tests, I met a man in the waiting room. An older man sick like me. We started talking. He told me his story. He said he had one son, raised him alone after his wife died, gave him everything, education, values, the complete family inheritance. But when his son got married, everything changed. The daughter-in-law began to manipulate him little by little. First with kind words, then with ideas of modernization. Finally, she convinced him to sign a power of attorney. She said it was to help him with his medical paperwork. The man signed, and 2 weeks later his son and daughter-in-law sold his house. They put him in a nursing home. They kept everything. When he told me this, the man was crying. He told me it wasn't my son who betrayed me. It was my manipulated son. But the result is the same. I'm dying alone, without my home, without my dignity. Emily, that story haunted me until my last night. And I understood that I needed to protect you, not from Daniel, but from whoever might change Daniel. That's why I wrote this letter. That's why I left the clauses in the will as I did. Not because I don't trust our son, but because I trust you. I trust that you will know when intentions are pure and when they are poison disguised as modernity. If someone pressures you to hand over the keys, if someone makes you feel old or incapable, if someone tries to convince you the ranch is a burden, resist. Because that land is not just property, it's the backbone of our family. It's the place where our ancestors bled and dreamed. It's the only place in the world where our history has roots. And you, my love, are the guardian of that history. Don't let anyone, not even our son, convince you that you are an obstacle. You are the gate, and you decide who can enter. I love you. I have always loved you. And from wherever I am, I will continue to watch over you. Protect the keys, protect the land, protect yourself. Yours forever, David. When I finished reading, tears were falling on the paper. Mr. Lawson put a hand on my shoulder. Your husband was a wise man, Emily. He already knew. He already knew this was going to happen. He didn't know exactly what, but he knew it was possible. That's why he protected you. I dried my tears. Mr. Lawson, what can I do? Legally, you are protected. Daniel cannot sell, rent, or modify the property without your explicit, notarized consent. But, he paused, the law protects property, Emily. It doesn't protect hearts. What do you mean? I mean they can pressure you, manipulate you, make you feel guilty. They could even try to declare you mentally unfit to make decisions. I've seen cases like that. I felt a chill. Can they do that? They can try. If they get a doctor to certify that you suffer from dementia, cognitive decline, or any condition that makes you incompetent, they could ask for legal guardianship. But I am perfectly fine. You know that. I know that. But in the hands of the right lawyers, with the right doctors. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. What should I do? First, keep this letter somewhere safe, in a bank, with someone you trust, not in the house. Second, go to your doctor, get a full exam, physical and mental. Get it in writing that you are in full command of your faculties. Third, he looked at me sadly. Prepare for the worst. The worst. For Daniel to take his wife's side, completely. He would never... Emily, I've been a family lawyer for 40 years, and I can tell you something I've learned. When a man has to choose between his mother and his bed, he almost always chooses the bed. The words hurt me like a physical blow. But I knew he was right. Mr. Lawson left at midnight. I was left alone in the living room with my husband's letter in my hands. I read it 3 more times. Each time his voice became clearer in my mind. You are the guardian of that history. Don't let anyone convince you that you are an obstacle. You are the gate. I stood up. I walked to the study. I opened the safe, hidden behind the painting of my father. I put the letter inside along with the original deeds to the property. I locked the door. I touched the keys hanging from my neck, and I made a decision. If they wanted a fight, they were going to get one. But not with yelling, not with drama, not with scenes, with silence, with patience, with the same quiet strength my husband taught me when we cared for this land together. At 7 the next morning, I called my doctor. I requested an urgent appointment for every possible exam. At 8, I called the bank. I made an appointment to open a safe deposit box. At 9, my phone rang. It was Daniel. Mom. Good morning, son. Sarah told me what happened yesterday, that you were rude to her, that you insulted her. I didn't insult anyone. I just made it clear that the ranch is not for sale. Nobody said it was for sale. We just wanted to propose an idea, a family business. Daniel, do you really think I need a business at my age? Do you really think I want to turn the home where I raised you into a hotel? It's not just you who decides, Mom. I'm an owner too. Of the property, not the legacy. That doesn't make sense. Maybe not to you, but to me it does. Silence. Heavy breathing. Sarah says you're being selfish, that you're clinging to the past, that you need help. Help. Yes, Mom, professional help. Maybe Maybe you should talk to someone, a therapist or a doctor, to help you let go. There it was, what Mr. Lawson had warned me about. Professional help. Doctor. Mental incompetence. Daniel, do you really think I'm crazy? No, Mom, but I think you're lonely, that you've gotten trapped in that house with ghosts and memories, and that's not healthy. I am perfectly healthy. Then prove it. Come live with us for a while. Leave the ranch. Get out of there. And the keys, leave the keys with us for security, so no one enters while you're gone. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. I counted to 10. No, Daniel. No. I am not leaving my home. I am not leaving the keys, and I am not going to discuss this with you anymore. Then I don't know what else to do, Mom. Really. I don't know how to help you anymore. I don't need your help, son. I need your respect. I can't respect a decision that is hurting you. The only decision that is hurting me is yours. Choosing a woman you barely know over the mother who raised you. There you go. It's always the same with you. Either I'm with you or I'm against you. No, Daniel. Either you're with me, or you're with someone who wants to take everything I have. He hung up. The silence after the call was worse than the shouting. I sat in the kitchen for hours. I didn't cry. I had no tears left for this. I just felt a deep emptiness, like when my husband died, like when I understood I was alone in the world. But this time was different. This time I wasn't a widow. I was orphaned of my son. And that hurt in a way I never imagined possible. That afternoon I went to the bank. I opened the safe deposit box. I put copies of all the important documents inside. Deeds, the will, my husband's letter. The next day I went to the doctor. They did blood tests, cognitive tests, memory exams. Mrs. Emily, you are perfectly healthy, the doctor said a week later, physically and mentally. In fact, you're in better health than many people 20 years younger. Can you give me that in writing? Of course. I filed the medical certificate with the other documents, and I waited. Because I knew this wasn't over. I knew Sarah wasn't going to give up, and I knew my son, my boy, my Daniel, was lost in a place I could no longer reach. The keys hung from my neck, and for the first time in my life, I felt their weight wasn't protection. It was loneliness. I still wonder if I did the right thing by standing firm. What about you? What would you have done in my place? 3 weeks passed without hearing from Daniel. 3 weeks where my phone remained silent. 3 weeks where every noise on the road made me run to the window hoping to see his truck. But it never came. Until that Thursday afternoon. I was in the garden pruning the rose bushes my mother planted 40 years ago when I heard the engine. Not just one truck, 2, and a car. I took off my gloves. I wiped the sweat from my forehead. Daniel got out of the first truck. Sarah got out of the car. And from the second truck, 2 men with briefcases got out, lawyers by the look of them. My stomach tightened. Daniel, what's going on? He wouldn't look me in the eye. He walked toward me with rigid steps like a soldier following orders. Mom, we need to talk, inside. Who are they? They are Mr. Morales and Mr. Sanchez. They're here to help us resolve the situation. What situation? Sarah stepped forward smiling as if she were arriving at a party. Emily, don't get nervous. We just want to clarify some legal matters. Nothing serious. I didn't invite them in. Mom, please. Daniel said, his voice tired. Don't make this harder. Something in his tone chilled my blood, but I opened the door. We all went into the living room. The lawyers sat on the sofa, Sarah in the main armchair. Daniel remained standing by the window looking out as if he wanted to be anywhere else. I sat across from them, the keys under my blouse pressed against my chest. Mr. Morales, a man in a gray suit and rimless glasses, opened his briefcase. Mrs. Emily, good morning. I am Mr. Morales, legal representative for Mr. Daniel Garcia. We are here today because my client wishes to exercise his rights as co-owner of this ranch. He already knows his rights and his limitations. Precisely. That's why we're here. He took out some documents. We have reviewed your late husband's will, and while it is true that you have administrative control of the property, there is a clause that allows the co-owner to request a division of assets if he believes the current administration is deteriorating the value of the estate. Deteriorating. This ranch is in perfect condition. Physically, perhaps, but economically. He left the papers on the table. It is losing value. It generates no income. It has no productive use. And according to our calculations, the maintenance costs outweigh any potential benefit. This is my home, not a business. Legally, ma'am, it is both. A private property with commercial value. And my client has the right to request that this value be protected. I looked at Daniel. He was still turned away, looking out the window. Daniel, did you ask for this? He didn't answer. Sarah answered for him. Emily, Daniel only wants what's best for everyone, including you. Look at this place. It's huge, old, hard to maintain. You're here alone. What if you get sick? If you fall? If something happens and nobody notices for days? I have a phone. I have neighbors. You are 57 years old, Emily, and even if you're healthy now, how many more years can you handle this? 5, 10. And then what are you going to let this property deteriorate until it's worthless? It's worth more than you could ever understand. Not everything is measured in money. Mr. Sanchez, the younger one, chimed in with a condescending smile. Ma'am, no one is questioning your emotional attachment, but we must be realistic. This property has a market value of approximately $3 million. If it were sold, it's not for sale. Or if it were rented for events, it could generate between $30,000 and $50,000 a month. That's over $500,000 a year, money that could benefit the entire family. I'm not interested. Not even for your son's future, for your future grandchildren. The word grandchildren hit me like a fist. I looked at Sarah. She was smiling. She knew exactly which button she had just pushed. Emily, I'm pregnant, Sarah said softly. 3 months. Daniel is going to be a father. You are going to be a grandmother. The world stopped. What? Daniel finally turned around. His eyes were red. It's true, Mom. That's why we need to think about the future. About providing for our child, giving him stability. I didn't know. Why? Because you didn't want to know. Because you've been so busy fighting with us that you haven't noticed what's happening. Tears began to burn my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Congratulations, son, truly. Then understand, Mom, this isn't just about you and me anymore. It's about my child, your grandchild. And he deserves to have parents who aren't stressed about money, who can give him an education, opportunities, a future. And I'm preventing that. You're not preventing it. You're just making things harder than they need to be. Mr. Morales spoke again. Mrs. Emily, my client is willing to reach an agreement. We don't want to go to court. We don't want to make this ugly. But if you do not cooperate, we will have to petition a judge for a forced division of assets. And in that process, many things may come to light, things you might not want to be made public. What things? Your age, your condition of living alone, your refusal to accept help. A judge might interpret that as senile stubbornness. They could question your capacity to make rational decisions. There it was, the threat Mr. Lawson had warned me about. I have medical certificates proving I am in full command of my faculties. Certificates you requested recently, which to a judge might look suspicious. As if you knew you were going to be questioned. As if you were preparing to defend yourself. I stood up. Enough. Everyone out of my house. Mom, I said out. My voice came out stronger than I expected. This is my house, and as long as it is, I decide who comes in and who goes out. Sarah stood up too, her hands on her barely visible stomach. Emily, think about your grandchild. Do you really want him to grow up knowing his grandmother preferred an old house over his future? I want him to grow up knowing his grandmother had dignity, that she didn't sell her soul or her history for money. It's not just money, Daniel shouted. It's my inheritance. It's what my father left me, and you are taking it from me. Your father left you more than property, Daniel. He left you values, principles, respect for what generations before you built. Those values don't pay bills. No, but they let you sleep in peace. Daniel walked toward me. His face was red. His fists were clenched. Give me the keys, Mom. No. Give me the damn keys. The shout echoed through the house. The lawyers looked uncomfortable. Sarah put a hand on Daniel's arm. Honey, calm down. It's not worth it. But he was out of control. I've been patient with you. I've tried to talk. I've tried to reason, but you don't listen. You never listen. It's always what you want, what you decide, what you need. What about me? Don't I matter? You matter more than anything in the world. Then prove it. Give me what's mine. Give me my inheritance. Give me my future. I took the necklace with the keys off. I held them in my hand. Daniel held out his waiting, but instead of giving them to him, I clutched them to my chest. These keys are not your future, Daniel. They are your past, and until you understand the difference, you will not have them. His face crumbled, with rage, with pain, with something I couldn't identify. Then this is over. His voice came out cold flat. I don't have a mother. The words pierced me like bullets. Daniel, a mother who loves her son more than a property wouldn't do this. So you choose. Either you're on my side or you don't have a son. Don't make me choose that. I've already chosen for both of us. He turned to the lawyers. Prepare the papers. We're going to court. I want the division of assets. I want to sell my share. And I want her out of that house. Daniel, please. You'll be hearing from our lawyers. He walked to the door. Let's go, Sarah. Sarah looked at me with something that resembled pity, but behind her eyes I saw triumph. I'm sorry, Emily. Truly. They all left. The lawyers first, then Sarah, finally Daniel. He didn't look back. He didn't say goodbye. He just got in his truck and drove away. I stood in the doorway, keys in hand, watching the 3 vehicles disappear down the dirt road. When the dust settled and the silence returned, I closed the door. I walked to the living room. I sat in the same armchair where my husband used to sit and read the paper every morning. And there finally, I let myself cry. I cried for my son, for the boy who used to hug me and tell me everything would be okay, for the man who was supposed to protect this legacy, not destroy it. I cried for the grandchild who was going to be born, who would grow up without knowing me, without knowing where he came from, without understanding what his ancestors sacrificed so he could exist. I cried for my husband, for not being here to help me, for leaving me alone with this heavy burden. And I cried for myself, for the woman who had just lost her only son, all for defending what was right. But when I finished crying, I dried my tears. I stood up and put the keys back around my neck, because there was something Daniel didn't understand, something Sarah would never understand. Mothers lose battles. We lose sons. We lose years of our lives. But we do not lose our dignity. And that night alone in that huge house surrounded by silence and memories, I understood something. Sometimes the greatest love you can give is to let go, even if it shatters you, even if it kills you, even if it leaves you all alone. Because children are not property, but dignity is, and I had chosen mine. Have you ever had to let go of someone you love to save yourself? That night, I learned that sometimes love is also saying no. 2 months later, I received the papers from the court, a lawsuit for division of assets, a request for a forced sale. Arguments about deficient administration and patrimonial deterioration. Mr. Lawson reviewed them with me in the kitchen. Emily, this is going to be long, maybe years, and expensive. Can we win? Legally, yes, the will is clear, but emotionally... He looked at me sadly. We've already lost. He was right. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the porch watching the stars, listening to the silence of the land. And then I knew what I had to do. The next morning I called Mr. Lawson. I want to make a new will. Are you sure? Completely. I went to his office. I dictated my last wishes with a firm voice. I, Emily Martinez, widow of Garcia, being of sound mind, declare the following. The San David Ranch will remain under my administration as long as I live. Upon my death, the entire property will pass into a family trust which cannot be sold, divided, or modified for 50 years. My son Daniel will receive 50% of the profits generated by the property if it is rented for cultural, educational, or historical events, never for private commercial purposes. The other 50% will be managed by a foundation that protects historic ranches in this state. If my son attempts to contest this will or sell his share, he will lose all his rights and his percentage will pass entirely to the foundation. The keys to the ranch will be given to the director of the foundation. This is my will, and it is irrevocable. Mr. Lawson looked at me for a long time. Emily, do you know what this means? It means no one will win this war. Not him, not me. But the land will. I signed the documents, had them notarized, sealed them, and went home in peace for the first time in months. 2 weeks later, Daniel found out. I don't know how. Maybe Mr. Lawson told him. Maybe it was town gossip. He called me at midnight, drunk, crying. How could you do this to me, Mom? How could you take away my inheritance? I didn't take it, Daniel. I protected it. From me. You're a selfish monster. No, my love, I'm a mother who loved you too much to let you destroy what your father built. He hung up. And he didn't call again. The months passed. The lawsuit dragged on. I kept living at the ranch, tending the roses, feeding the chickens, watching the sunsets. Alone, but at peace. Because I understood something my husband always knew. You don't defend the land with shouts. It defends itself. With time, with patience, with the silent justice that only nature knows how to give. And I just had to wait. The keys hung from my neck. They weren't heavy anymore. They were just keys. And I was free. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge. It's protecting what you love and letting time do its job. 2 years passed. 2 years I lived on the ranch, caring for the land, waiting without waiting. The lawsuit had stalled. Daniel's lawyers could do nothing against my new will. It was legal, irrevocable, perfect. Mr. Lawson visited me every month with updates, always the same. They're still trying, but they don't have a case. I would nod, serve coffee, and get on with my life. One afternoon in October, Mr. Lawson arrived with a different look on his face. He wasn't carrying his briefcase, just a worried expression. Emily, there's something you need to know. What happened? Daniel and Sarah separated. The world stopped for a second. When? 3 months ago. The divorce was finalized last week. And the baby? Sarah got full custody. She moved to Dallas to be with her family. Daniel has supervised visits every 2 weeks. I sat down slowly. My legs wouldn't hold me. What happened? Mr. Lawson sighed. What always happens with women like that. When she couldn't get what she wanted from you, she started looking elsewhere. She met a hotel developer. Rich, older, no family. He paused. Daniel caught her with him, in the apartment they shared. I felt a mixture of pain and sadness so deep I didn't know what to say. How is he? Bad, Emily. Very bad. He lost his wife, his son, his job, everything. His job? He quit, or was fired, I'm not sure. But he's living in a cheap motel near the city. Alone. Drinking too much from what I'm told. Tears started falling and I couldn't stop them. And why hasn't he called me? Pride, shame, maybe both. Mr. Lawson left half an hour later. I stayed in the kitchen with the cold coffee and my broken heart. My son was destroyed. Alone. Lost. And I couldn't do anything because he had built this hell with his own hands. 3 weeks later, while I was shopping in town, I saw her. Sarah. She was at an elegant restaurant sitting on the terrace with a man in a suit, gray hair, expensive watch, a shark smile. She was laughing, flirting, glowing, as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't destroyed my son, as if the baby who was supposedly her reason for taking my ranch didn't even exist. She saw me. Her eyes met mine. For a second her smile faltered, but then she recovered it. She waved at me, as if we were friends. I didn't wave back. I just kept walking, because I understood something in that moment. Sarah never loved Daniel. She never loved the baby. She only loved what they could give her. And when that well dried up, she found another. That night, sitting on the porch, I thought about everything that had happened. I thought about the wedding, the shouting, the threats, the lawyers, the last time I saw my son. And I realized that I didn't win this war. But Sarah didn't win either. Because she got money, yes. She got a new man, yes. But she lost something she will never get back. Peace. Because people like her are never satisfied. They always need more. They're always looking for the next opportunity, the next man, the next deal. And someday when she is old and alone, she will understand that you can't buy what really matters. My son paid his price too. He lost his family, his dignity, his future. But at least he still had time to learn, to change, to come back, if he chose to. A month later in December, the doorbell rang at 6 a.m. I opened the door. It was Daniel, thin, an ungroomed beard, red eyes, wrinkled clothes. But it was my son. "Mom," his voice broke. "I'm sorry." He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. I hugged him. And he cried like he used to when he was a boy and fell off his bike. He cried for everything he lost, for everything he destroyed, for everything he would never get back. And I held him, because that's what mothers do. We didn't say anything that morning. We just sat in the kitchen, drank coffee, watched the sunrise through the window. "The keys are still yours, Mom," he said finally. "They were always yours." "I know, my love. I know. I was a fool, an idiot. And she convinced me that you were the problem. And I believed her. I know. How did you know? How did you know she was like that?" I touched the keys hanging from my neck. "Your father taught me to recognize when someone loves the land and when they only love what they can get from it." Daniel nodded. The tears were still falling. "I've lost everything, Mom. My son, my marriage, my job, my dignity. Not everything." I took his hand. "You still have me, and you still have time to build something new. Something real. I don't know if I can. I didn't know either when your father died, but I did it. And you can too." He stayed at the ranch that day, and the next, and the next. We didn't talk about the lawsuit. We didn't talk about Sarah. We didn't talk about the keys. We just worked together, like before. We repaired fences, fed the animals, watched the sunsets. And slowly, my son started to come back. Not the man who married Sarah, but the boy who once promised to take care of this land. Life always collects its debts. It will collect from Sarah with the loneliness of living without roots, without history, without true love. It collected from Daniel with pain and loss, but it also gave him a chance to learn. And from me, it collected with years of silence and tears, but it paid me with dignity, and that in the end was worth more than anything. Life always finds a way to put everyone in their place, not with revenge, but with truth. Have you ever seen karma do its work? 5 years have passed since that morning. Daniel knocked on my door, asking for forgiveness. Today I am 62 years old. My son is 38. And my grandson, who I finally met 6 months ago, is 4.5. His name is Robert, after his grandfather. He doesn't live with me. He lives with Sarah in Dallas. But every month when Daniel goes to pick him up for his visits, he brings him to the ranch. And when that little boy runs through these same yards where his father ran, when he climbs the same trees, when he sits with me on the porch to drink hot chocolate, I understand why it was worth it to resist. Daniel lives in town now. He works at a mechanic's shop. He doesn't make much. He lives in a small apartment. But he's sober. He's in therapy. And he's learning to be the man his father wanted him to be. The lawsuit ended 3 years ago. Daniel's lawyers withdrew the suit when he came back. Mr. Lawson helped me modify the will one last time. When I die, the ranch will be Daniel's. Completely. No trusts, no foundations. but only if he proves for 10 consecutive years that he can care for it without selling it, that he understands its value beyond money. If he fails, everything passes to Robert when he turns 25. "Do you think I can do it, Mom?" Daniel asked me when we signed the new documents. "I don't know, my love, but I want to give you the chance to try." Sarah got remarried last year to that hotel developer she met. They live in a modern mansion. They travel the world. They post perfect photos on social media. Sometimes I see those photos, and I wonder if she's happy. I don't think so, because I've learned that happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less, and she will always need more. I saw her one more time 2 years ago when she came to drop Robert off for summer vacation. She got out of her imported car wearing designer clothes with dark glasses that hid more than the sun. She looked perfect, as always. But when she took off the glasses to talk to me, I saw something in her eyes I had never seen before. Emptiness. "Emily," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The ranch looks great. You're still here. I'm still here. It must be quiet, being alone. No worries." "It is quiet," I said, "because I am where I belong." Something in my tone made her blink. "I'm where I belong too," she said quickly. "My husband and I are very happy, very successful. We just opened our 3rd hotel." "I'm glad to hear that." Uncomfortable silence. Robert ran toward me shouting, "Grandma!" With that pure joy only children have, I hugged him. I picked him up. I spun him around. When I put him down, I saw Sarah watching us with a strange expression, almost like envy. "Take good care of him," she said, getting into her car. "I'll be back in 2 weeks." She left without saying goodbye to Robert, without hugging him, without telling him she loved him. Because some people never learn that love isn't bought, it's built, with time, with presence, with sacrifice. My son is learning that, slowly, with pain, with mistakes. But he's learning. A month ago, while we were working in the garden together, he told me something I'll never forget. "Mom, now I understand why Dad left you the keys. It wasn't to control me. It was to protect me. From myself." I touched the keys that still hang from my neck. "Your father was always wiser than me." "No, Mom, you were wise together, and I was the fool who took too long to understand." I hugged him, my boy, my man, my son. It's never too late to learn my love. Today, as I think these thoughts sitting on the same porch where I've spent half my life, I see Robert playing with the chickens. I see Daniel mending the fence by the corral. I see the trees my grandfather planted. I see the adobe walls my great-grandfather built. And I understand something it took me 62 years to comprehend. Life isn't about winning or losing. It's about protecting what we love. Even when it costs us everything, it's about knowing when to resist and when to let go. It's about understanding that true love doesn't demand, it gives. But it also sets boundaries. They once called me selfish, stubborn, an old woman clinging to the past. Maybe they were right about some things. But they were wrong about the most important one. I wasn't clinging to the past. I was protecting the future of that little boy who now runs free on this land, the future of my son who is learning to be a man, the future of all the generations that will come after me. The keys hanging from my neck aren't just metal and rust anymore. They are history. They are resistance. They are proof that a woman alone with no weapons but her dignity can defend an entire world. Sarah got her rich developer, her mansion, her perfect life. But I have something she will never have. Peace. The peace of knowing I did the right thing, that I didn't sell out, that I didn't betray those who came before me or those who will come after. And that peace is priceless. If my story helps just one woman to open her eyes to set boundaries to defend what is hers, no matter who tells her she's wrong, then it was all worth it. The shouting, the tears, the years of loneliness, everything. Because in the end, life always finds a way to serve justice, not with revenge, not with screams, but with time, with truth, with natural consequences that arrive when we least expect them. Sarah learned that money doesn't buy love. Daniel learned that some things are worth more than inheritance. And I learned that letting go of someone you love doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you love them enough to let them fall, so they can learn, so they can grow, even if it destroys you. My name is Emily. I'm 62 years old, and this was the story of how I lost my son to save us both. The keys are still with me, and here they will stay until the right time comes, because now I know something I didn't know 5 years ago. The right time isn't when I decide. It's when my son is ready to receive them. And that day I will rest in peace, knowing that the land that saw me born, that saw me cry, that saw me resist, will be in the right hands. Thank you for listening to the end. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change someone's whole day. God bless you. And until next time, thank you for listening to the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and hit the bell to hear more stories from Elderly Stories. Stories of women who turned their pain into wisdom. Every day, a new woman, a new life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. A story like this can change a whole day. God bless you, and until next time,